I am Gold Pony. I do new car, truck, SUV reviews on YouTube, and today we're in the brand new 2026 Toyota Sequoia, courtesy of Younger Toyota in Hagerstown, Maryland. For more information on their inventory, please feel free to check out the link in the description box below. So we are in this one today because this is a rather large 3-row SUV from Toyota. Still get 2 years or 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance as well. And ultimately in this video, we will be testing out and going over everything about this one, from acceleration to braking, steering feel, ride quality, sound system, exhaust clip, all that fun stuff. So having said all of that, what do you guys say? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so as is expected, there are several different trim levels for the 2026 Sequoia. Got the SR5 starting at $64,025, which by the way is a $1,600 bump from the 2025 model year, in case you were curious. Limited for $69,795. Platinum, which is the one we are in today, that one goes for $80,035. 1794 edition, $80,850. TRD Pro for $80,765. And lastly, the Capstone going for $84,435. And so for all of the trim levels but the first two, 4-wheel drive does come standard. However, for the first two, rear-wheel drive comes standard, but if you wanted to add 4-wheel drive, you can do that. Simply add $3,000 to either the SR5 or the Limited. But regardless of the trim level that you go with, the power plant on the Sequoia is going to be the same. Powering this beast is a 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 hybrid that puts out 437 horsepower, 5,200 RPM, 583 pound-feet of torque, coming in at 2,400 RPM. Power is going to be sent to the rear wheels or all wheels through a 10-speed automatic. 0 to 60 time in this beast comes in at 5.6 seconds. That's really, really respectable considering the size of this thing. And when it comes to MPGs, it's going to come in at 21 in the city, 24 on the highway for the rear-wheel drive, 19 city, 22 then on the highway for the 4-wheel drive, but taking regular unleaded fuel. I love that. I was fully expecting premium fuel for this thing, but you gotta love the regular. But so then before we do any kind of fun acceleration test here in the Sequoia, I did want to mention to you guys the drive modes. And so there's a circular dial located just behind the shifter. You turn that to the left and to the right. That gives you drive modes like Eco, Normal, Sport. There actually is a tow and haul mode then as well, ultimately adjusting things like the shift points, the throttle response, and the steering sensitivity. So now having got all of that out of the way, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's put the acceleration here to the test, and let's see how quickly we can get our new 2026 Toyota Sequoia here up to speed. All right, found our straightaway. Let's see what this twin turbo V6 can do in 3, 2, 1. Yow! Little delay. Dang, this thing pulls. Love the sound of this. That's the first thing I'm gonna say. This thing sounds so freaking sweet, man. But yeah, this thing definitely gets up and goes, especially for a 3-row SUV. 0 to 60, what did I say, 5.6? That is plenty impressive for this thing. Having said that, there was just a slight bit of turbo lag at the very beginning, as to be expected with the twin-turbo V6. But once you get higher up in the RPMs, this thing goes, man. Plenty of an acceleration to merge you onto any highway here in the US. I love that. But anyways, to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 13.9-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 13.6-inch ventilated rear discs. As far as that 60-0 stopping distance goes, it comes in at 134 feet, which quite honestly isn't the best number on paper, but let's go ahead and test out the brakes and see what the brake feel actually is like here. It's as expected. I'll say that. It definitely does kind of feel like that 134-foot number. Typically what you want to look for is kind of the mid-120s. 134 is not the best, but it's not the worst I've ever tested either. 139 feet is going to be the worst in a 3-row SUV I've ever tested, but it does feel a little bit on the softer side of things. It's not a firm braking feel whatsoever, but kind of feels like a truck braking feel, to be honest. So if you've driven maybe the Tundra, I guess you could say, obviously, you kind of know what this braking feel is going to be like. But anyways, then touching on suspension and handling. Up front, you're going to get an independent double wishbone type front suspension. In the back, coil spring multi-link rear suspension. But if you were to go with that TRD Pro, you get other suspension goodies as well, of course. You get an off-road suspension with Bilstein shocks. You get Fox dampers. You get a locking rear differential, a TRD Pro front stabilizer bar as well. So plenty of different suspension goodies with that TRD Pro. However, there is an optional suspension component I wanted to mention. That's going to be an adaptive variable suspension suspension with an air suspension as well. That goes for $1,045, and that's probably an option I would 100% take part of, because I always love the adaptive suspensions, because what they do is it monitors each shock absorber individually, not only adjusting to the road imperfections, giving you a smoother ride, but it's also going to tighten up that suspension during heavy cornering, giving you better handling as well. And I can always tell the difference when you drive the same car, one having with it and one having without it. It's a very noticeable difference, especially with the ride quality. So if you want the smoothest ride, that's an option you're definitely going to want to go with. So did want to mention that. Having said that, as far as ride quality goes, my short little test drive here today, it has been 100% perfectly fine. I would absolutely love to take this thing to Ocean City, Maryland, and take it on a little road trip, because the ride quality is 100% on point. Then touching on steering feel, it's okay. It's got a good bit of body roll. I will say that, but as expected in a vehicle like this. But it's okay. It's a little bit on the heavier side of things, but it pretty much feels like you would expect the Sequoia to feel like. As far as cabin noise goes, we're going 48 miles per hour right now and going over a bridge, so I'll be quiet here for a second. It's actually pretty darn good. If I'm being honest, it's a pretty serene cabin. And that may be due in part because you do get an acoustic laminated front windshield for all trim levels across the board. I like that. Also, acoustic laminated front door glass. That is going to come with the capstone. If you wanted the very most serene cabin, that's going to be there for you if you wanted it. And then touching our rear visibility, as we were pulling over here, looking at my rear view mirror, the third row is up right now. So those third row headrests, they are kind of beefy. I will start by saying that. So if you don't have any third row passengers, it's probably better if you just put those down, and that would, of course, make visibility a heck of a lot better. But because of the shape of this one, you really shouldn't have any issues if you don't have the third row headrests up, I'll say that. Touching on forward visibility a little bit, rain-sensitive windshield wipers do come standard for all trim levels across the board. So that means whenever this thing detects any kind of mist or rainfall, it's going to automatically turn on the windshield wipers for you. So that is pretty cool. The other thing is you do get a head-up display. I can't really see it with polarized sunglasses, but I got a compass there. I have an eco indicator. I have my speed limit, and it's going to display safety features up there as well. So that is definitely going to be convenient. But that pretty much rounds out the performance segment of this review, you guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2026 Toyota Sequoia. All right, so here she is, you guys, the new 2026 Toyota Sequoia, finished in magnetic gray metallic, in case you wanted the exact exterior color name on this one. But as always, let's go ahead and start up front. So starting with that front grille, it is going to differ pretty substantially dependent upon the trim level that you go with. So you're going to get a black front grille with horizontal bars for the SR5. It's going to be gray for the Limited, dark mesh for the Platinum. That's what you guys are looking at right now. Toyota lettering spelled out for the TRD Pro, and then a silver honeycomb style front grille for the 1794 and capstone trims. To the sides, LED headlights with LED daytime running lights. You get the automatic feature with those. You also get automatic high beams. Then you get LED fog lights down below. Yes, that does come standard for all trim levels. That is pretty nice. And then premium LED headlights for the capstone trim level in case you wanted those. But that pretty much rounds out the front end. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the side. All right, so now since we are around to the side of the Sequoia, roof rails do come standard for all trim levels across the board. Rear privacy glass also coming standard. You're going to find a gloss black A-pillar in typical Toyota fashion. They always tend to do that. I know with their Highlander as well. Automatic power extending running boards are going to come with the Platinum and the capstone. They're going to be optional on the Platinum that we have with us here today. Going to find some trim level badging found on the front doors. You guys can see that Platinum lettering found on our front doors here. Then take a look at the side mirrors. They are going to be body colored power adjustable side mirrors. They will actually be heated as well with LED integrated turn signals, so they pretty much got everything. Then taking a look down at the wheel setup, 18-inch alloys for the SR5, 20-inch alloys for the Limited, Platinum, and 1794 edition, 18-inch BBS matte black forged alloys for the TRD Pro, and lastly 22-inch alloys for the capstone. But that pretty much rounds out the side profile. Let's now go ahead and swing around to the back. All right, so now since we are around to the back of the Sequoia, starting all the way to the top, you're going to find a matte black shark fin antenna. Just below that, rear spoiler with an integrated brake light. Just below that, rear window wiper affixed to the rear glass. You got LED taillights do come standard, by the way, for all trim levels. You got the Sequoia lettering spelled out horizontally. But perhaps my favorite part on the back end, at least, I'm going to get up a little bit closer here. There's a button right here. You press that, and then you can open up this rear window. That's super cool. I just envision myself backing up to the ocean in Aztec Beach or something, Aztec Island, and just watching the ocean out of the back seat. Of course, you probably have to put down this third row, obviously, but that's just so stinking cool that you could do that. So thank you, Toyota. That's a pretty cool feature. Then getting down a little bit lower, I know a lot of people are a lot of times interested in the towing capacity of the Sequoia, so I'm going to touch on that real quick. That comes in at 9,520 pounds in case you wanted that. So that's actually a decent amount there. But to the side then, there is a single exhaust outlet. It's kind of tucked away down there on the driver's side. You guys can see that. So having said that, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next here. As always, here is that exhaust clip. Alright, so now since we are around to the back of the Sequoia, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, it is going to be a power tailgate for all trim levels across the board, so that is stinking cool. You got a button on the key fob. There is a rubberized button on the tailgate itself then as well. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 22.3 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, of course, there is a 60-40 split, meaning the rear seats do fold down. That's going to bump that up to 49 cubic feet behind that second row there. Then with all rows folded, 86.9 cubic feet. That's pretty substantial. That's a good bit of space. It's basically, honestly, it's kind of like the Toyota Highlander or Kia Telluride or Hyundai Palisade. Actually, it's almost exactly like that. So as far as total cargo space goes, at least, that's how much space you got there. Also back there, though, you got LED cargo lighting in that cargo area, 120 volt power outlet for the limited trim level and up. Multi-level cargo shelf system also comes standard on the Sequoia. In case you were curious where the spare tire is, that's going to be located up underneath of the Sequoia next to the exhaust. But so then making our way up to the third row legroom, that is going to come in at 33.7 inches. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the back seat there. Second row can actually slide up to 6 inches forward in case you wanted to allow a little extra space for those third row passengers there. Rear ventilation does come standard. That is located on the ceiling of this thing. Got some cup holders back there, USB charging ports actually on both sides in the third row. So that is pretty substantial there. And then third row window sunshades also can be found back there, and you almost never see that. Typically it's a second row thing, but very rarely do you find it in the third row. So I absolutely love that. But then make your way up to the second row legroom. That is going to come in at 39.2 inches. For reference, I'm even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the second row there. Heated second row seats coming with the Platinum 1794 edition and capstone trims, USB charging ports for that second row as well. Second row side window sunshades for the limited trim level and up. Bench seating is going to come with the SR5 Unlimited. However, all other trim levels are going to get captain's chairs with a little bit of storage and cup holders in the middle of those captain's chairs. I think it's an absolutely wonderful setup there, and there's a ton of space between those second row passengers as well. So if you have two kids that like to fight a lot, that's a decent amount of space to keep them separated. So it's actually not that bad. I like it. Anyways, then making our way up to the front seats, fabric seating for the SR5, Softex upholstery for the limited, leather seating for the Platinum trim level and up. That's what we got here with the contrast blue stitching. I think that's pretty cool. Memory settings for the limited trim level and up, power adjustable front seats for all trim levels, heated and ventilated front seats for the limited and up, massaging front seats for the Platinum 1794 and capstone trims, brown leather then coming with the 1794 as well. That is pretty cool. Overall, as far as seat comfort goes, it was okay. Nothing crazy. I kind of wish it had vertical seams. That's typically, that eliminates the awkward pressure points, but they weren't bad. They'll get the job done. But now let's go ahead and take a look at the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is going to be leather wrapped for all trim levels across the board. Gotta appreciate the contrast blue stitching yet again, just like the seats. And then heated steering wheel is actually going to come in the limited trim level and up. A 10 and 2 grips are perfectly fine. I definitely have no issues there. Now let's go ahead and make our way to the startup. Let me start by showing you guys key here. All of your buttons are located on one side of the key. You got lock, unlock, and that button to pop the rear tailgate there. But it is all keyless entry with a push button start. So all I'm going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that engine start button located just kind of by the driver's right knee there. And so once started up, what you guys are looking at is a 12.3 inch digital gauge cluster. It looks pretty darn good. So I will say it does adjust slightly depending upon the drive mode that you put it in. So if you put it in the sport driving mode, it's going to give you a little bit of a sportier look and give you that red line front and center there with the digital speedometer. Then normal and eco are going to give you a slightly different look as well. But overall, it gives you all the information that you need up there. So outside temperature, time of the day, how many miles you have left until you hit empty. Of course, you got trip A, trip it be, average miles per gallon at any given time. So pretty much has everything you need. But now let's go ahead and make our way to overall interior quality. A power moonroof is going to come in the SR5 Limited and TRD Pro. Panoramic moonroof is going to come in the Platinum 1794 and Capstone. So that is what you guys are looking at. I'm always a fan of those. Overhead sunglass holder does come standard. That's pretty nice. LED interior lighting for all trim levels as well. Wireless phone charger for the Platinum trim level and up. Home link controls for up to 3 different garage doors for all trim levels, actually. That is pretty cool. Just in front of the cup holders there, you got a wireless phone charger. I'm always a fan of that. Of course, your cup holders are located just behind that. And when the cup holders are closed, you have this nice texturized finish. So they didn't choose to leave it like a matte black plastic or something like that. They gave it a nice texturized finish. I like that. Everything surrounding the shifter is going to be finished in a gloss black, and there's absolutely a ton of storage within the center armrest here, as expected in a vehicle of this size. You got places for coins up there. You got USB-A and USB-C charging ports. Really just a ton of storage within there. So I'm definitely a fan of that. The other thing is, I didn't want to overlook this, the door handles are probably the heaviest door handle feel that I've ever experienced. So nice weight to the door handles if that's a thing. But it is in the Sequoia at least. I like the grab handles too. That's pretty cool. Very truck-like. Another thing the Sequoia does is it gives the trim level badging kind of just above the passenger side glove box. I always kind of found that interesting. Whether you go with the 1794 or in our case the Platinum or whatever, it's going to have the trim level badging up there. So that's kind of cool as well. Overall, very practical, definitely gets the job done. I definitely would not have any issues with the interior quality of this thing, but let's now go ahead and take a look at the infotainment screen. 8-inch color touchscreen display for the SR5, but all other trims are gonna get what you're looking at, which is a 14-inch color touchscreen display. You get Bluetooth and audio streaming with that, wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You can check out your driving statistics up there as well as your radio information. So I'm gonna see if I can get something on here. I'm not sure what's gonna come on, but we're gonna try to test this out. Get 8 speakers with the SR5 Unlimited and then 14 speaker JBL sound system with the Platinum trim level and up. So therefore that is the one that we have with us here today. So let's go ahead and turn on the radio. Let's see what we got playing today and let's test out the clarity of this one. Don't tell me you didn't listen to Britney Spears back in the day. You're lying if you say you didn't. I know you did. Yeah, that's a pretty good sound system. I actually had a JBL subwoofer in my first car back in the day, and it thumped pretty hard. So plenty of bass with that, plenty of clarity. Definitely a very good sound system for the Sequoia without a doubt. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on the infotainment screen is when you do put the Sequoia in reverse, you will find a rear view camera. It does take up the entire screen, which is pretty darn cool. Not the highest quality rear view camera, but like I said, I love that it takes up the entire screen. You also get that panoramic view monitor there to the right as well. And that actually comes standard for all trim levels, so that is pretty cool. And the last thing I wanted to mention that I haven't mentioned yet, since I do have it in reverse here, is you also get a rear camera mirror. So when you flip down this little rear view mirror here, if you were to have cargo piled up to the ceiling in the third row perhaps, you have this rear camera mirror so you could still see who or what is behind you. So that's pretty cool when you're going on like long road trips and stuff like that. But that is always is going to lead us into safety. And so first thing I always like to mention is the IIHS rating. However, for whatever reason, the Sequoia is still not rated by IIHS, so it's all good there. Front side curtain airbags do come standard, driver and passenger knee airbags as well. In the back, you got latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system, but also coming standard. Toyota Safety Sense 2.5, that's all the advanced safety, including a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, dynamic radar cruise control, lane departure alert, steering assist, lane trace assist, road sign assist, front and rear parking sensors, I love that one, and a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert. So overall, when it comes to my final thoughts, plenty of space in this thing. I surprisingly was able to fit perfectly fine in the third row, and I very rarely am able to say that, so maybe it's the width of this thing too. Like, it's just a beast of an SUV, so I'm a big fan of that. Third row side window sunshades, I think that's pretty cool. I always like spoiling the rear passengers before I spoil myself, so I'm a big fan of that as well. Also, plenty of power. That was the spoiling for me. I love the power in this thing, and to go along with that, the sound of the engine when you really get on it, it's an absolutely beautiful thing, I'm telling you guys. So big fan of the power. Twin turbo V6 with almost 600 pound-feet of torque in an SUV. You gotta love that. But having said that, the only thing in the back of my mind is twin turbo V6, what's the reliability gonna be like? Having said that, we all know Toyota has a stellar reputation for amazing reliability, but if it did bother you, that's why they offer extended warranties, to kind of put your mind at ease. But anyways, let me know what you guys think of this Sequoia in the comments section below. That's about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media stuff at the bottom of the screen if you want to see what's coming next on the channel. Before it gets to YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button. If you're into new car reviews, that is what I've been doing here for 11 years now. Do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Stay gold.